Good morning, Deify here, and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo, where we are out with Lily right now shopping for a present for Hanako. We just found this nice antiques shop, Othello's Antiques, I believe, and we just went in. So now, I guess we're kind of on the lookout for a porcelain doll. Wow, I can't get comfortable in my chair. That's awesome. This is going to make recording super fun. The store has a strange, musky scent to it. The layout is more like a garage than a store. Things are strewn around the floor without any immediate semblance of order. The shopkeeper gives us an almost bored look through his particularly small eyes. His face looks weary and tired, and his dress style is distinctly anachronistic. He gives us a polite nod of welcome before going back to his book. Lily holds tightly onto my arm, and I find myself having to split my efforts between making sure we don't miss a potential gift for Hanako, and making sure Lily doesn't inadvertently bump into anything. The task is quite difficult, given the haphazard way the store is laid out, and the many things poking out of the shelves thereon or sitting on pieces of furniture. Because the way the store is laid out and the many things poking out of shelves. But eventually we arrive safely at an old desk covered in dolls and teddy bears. Well, I think this is the right place. There's pretty much every kind of doll you could imagine here. Well, that should make the choice much simpler. Could you please pick one out for me, Hisao? I had a feeling that it would come to this. I picture Hanako in my mind, and try to imagine which of the dolls before me would suit her the best. My eyes wander across the collection. Each one is as exquisite as the one before it. The sheer number of styles is boggling. But eventually one catches my eye. Here, what about this one? I pull out a haunted Chucky doll. It might kill her in the middle of the night, it might not. That's half the fun. I pick up a small porcelain doll that looks to be at least somewhat affordable. Dressed in a Victorian-era green dress with a little brown hat sitting atop its blonde hair, it looks a little like Lily. I gently pass it to her, who delicately feels her way around the object while wearing a look of slight concentration. It certainly feels beautiful. Do you think it would suit Hanako, in your opinion? I think it would. It could look good in her room. In that case, I'll trust your judgment. Will you be getting her something as well, or shall this be a shared gift? I'm not sure. I think I should get her something myself, but I don't think getting her another doll is such a great idea. Maybe... I let my voice trail off as I look around the shop. Resting on a writing table not far from us is a decorative box that catches my eye. Wait here. I think I've found something. Right, I've heard this song before. What did you put in that box, Isao? My, that was fast. I gingerly walk through a collection of crystal glassware and pick up the box. The wooden sides are covered in carvings depicting ancient battles around a castle. The top, however, looks far too familiar. Alternating squares of white and black varnished wood are arranged on the lid. Oh, that's a really nice item. It's a chess set from overseas. The store owner's sudden appearance startles me a little. I didn't see him approaching at all. I suppose he's trying to help us because we don't really look like we know what we're looking for. Or on the other hand, maybe he wants to keep an eye on us because he suspects we might shoplift instead. Oof, suspects is a hard word. I'm looking for a present for a friend. I see. In that case, this chess set would make a fine choice. Realization floods into my mind. This is a pretty good-looking set, but this is an antique shop. They're not well known for their bargain prices. How old is this? Oh, this is a reproduction. My best estimate is that it's about 5 years old. I see. How much? He thinks a little before telling me, which is slightly disconcerting. 800 million, I believe. I'll let you take this now for 7,000 yen, which is about $70, give or take, if you need that conversion done. I balk a little. I wasn't expecting to spend that much, but this does seem perfect. Then again, maybe that's a testament to how well he worked out how much he could make me pay. Couldn't make it 5,000? 5,500. No lower. I'm sold. Oh, we'd also like to get that doll. Store owner looks over my shoulder, focusing on Lily and the doll in her hands. His eyes narrow, and he visibly takes a moment to switch mental gears. In the process, his smile drops slightly. Ah. I guess that means that not everything in his store is a reproduction. Are you quite sure that you want that doll, miss? I trust my friend's judgment. I see. Oh, no offense. None taken. If you could please wrap it for me, it would be appreciated. Yes, of course, but it is 20,000 yen. About $200. Lily reaches into her purse and presents 4 crisp-looking 5,000 yen notes. Here you are. 20,000 yen. The storekeeper dutifully takes them and the doll, and proceeds to the counter. I take Lily's arm to guide her there. Are you sure about this? It's okay. I have the funds I need. As I said, I trust your judgment. I feel a little guilty on 2 fronts. Firstly, because Lily has just spent a lot of money on my recommendation, and secondly, because I have a feeling the value of my gift isn't high enough. Nevertheless, Lily does seem to get somewhat awkward whenever the mention of money comes about. I hand the shopkeeper my present, and the money for it in turn. He puts the cash into the register before busying himself with wrapping the doll and repeating the process on the chessboard. Eventually, he finishes the gift wrapping and hands us both our presents. Please be careful on your way back, and do come again. Yeah, thanks. Indeed, thank you very much. The store owner bows deeply to us as we leave. Ah, yeah, that's how you just go and blow $300. Well, I guess $250. He haggled it down. Nice. Well, it did take us all day, but we found something in the end. That we did. Now that the presents are wrapped, I'm feeling a little impatient to give them to Hanako. It's a common reaction to buying gifts, wanting to see the reaction of the receiver as they discover what it is. And part of me wants to return to Hanako, just to confirm her condition with my own eyes. So, should we head back? Let's. We've done a lot of walking today, so I shan't mind taking a rest back at the dormitories. Lily's right. Now that the need to find a shop is over, my legs are feeling quite tired. Well, then, back to the school for us. I'm looking forward to resting a bit, too. Lily holds out her arm, and I link mine with hers. Together, we make our way back to the bus stop. Oh, that's so nice. We're doing so well. We get to go to our next new day, and, we're getting ever closer to Hanako's birthday, so very exciting. I'm sure she'll like the gifts. We're the main character of a visual novel, we can't mess up that badly, right? Muto reads equations and formulas to us one by one, in his usual unenthusiastic monotone, directly from the book. It's possible that he might be excited about what he teaches us. Sometimes he can display an awkward spark of passion for it, as if he's starting to get into the material. Most days, however, are like this one. What we're covering is fairly simple, so I find it increasingly difficult to keep my concentration on him. It's not too long until my legs begin aching again, which only makes it even harder. I'm almost starting to regret walking around the city yesterday with Lily. Since leaving the hospital, I've done very little physical exertion. Walking to and from the local corner store hardly counts. Despite Emi's attempts when I first arrived in Yamaku, I've largely given up on the idea of ever returning to my old level of fitness. I have little doubt that's why walking around the town for so many hours has made me quite so sore. It's depressing, and it reminds me of one more thing I can't do since I had my heart attack. It makes me feel pathetic. No. Ikazawa? It's odd for Muto to ask Hanako a question, but not unheard of. She quickly jumps to her feet, a little startled, and immediately pins her eyes onto him. She knows that Muto calling on her is rare, so all eyes in the classroom are going to be on her. This way, she doesn't run the risk of making eye contact with anyone else. Yes? In this particular example of a redox reaction, the combustion of methane reaction actually produces one more product than it's listed. That product is... Even though it's a softball question, she timidly waits a bit before answering, biting down slightly on her lower lip as if to keep her concentration. Heat? Well done. This is an exothermic reaction, with the reaction giving more heat than is put into it. Receiving a nod from Muto, Hanako takes her seat once again, and gives a relieved sigh. A shaky start, but it's something. It'll be nice to take her out for her birthday, somewhere different from the usual isolation of her room and the tea room. With the progress she's made until now, I don't think she'll have much of a problem going into the city. Right then, for the remainder of this class, I'd like you to work in groups of 3 or 4 on the problems in Chapter 12. I'll be here if you need me. Ooh boy, do we get more Misha and Shizune action? Muto sits down behind his desk, pulls some loose sheets out of a folder, and starts on some kind of paperwork of his own. I thought teachers were supposed to do that kind of thing after class, not during it. Oh, yep, here they are. Shoulda known. Regardless, I look to my right and pick out someone to form a group with. Given the 2 smiling faces hovering near mine, I don't think I'm going to get much say in the matter. I suppose we have a group then. Hee-chan, you want to work together? Okay, that's great. It's really been a while. The class begins the process of noisily shuffling the desks around, with Shizune doing the same as she puts hers in front of mine. She's a little lucky to not be able to hear the din of the classroom, which is loud enough to cause some discomfort. Truth be told, working with Shizune and Misha is probably a good outcome. Shizune and I are pretty good at this subject, and Misha has really nice handwriting. There you go, Misha. I've seen this movie before. This is how we die. As I look to Misha, I notice a tall figure behind her. The shadow catches Misha's attention as well, and she turns to face the dark-haired observer. Good afternoon, Hanako! Hello? Shizune finally notices Hanako, after looking up and following the gazes of Misha and I. In quick measure, she taps Misha on the shoulder to get her attention before signing away. Shi-chan says, if you're looking for a group, you can join ours! Hanako looks down and blushes a little at the offer. Out of all the people in the class, Hanako's most familiar with the 3 of us, so it's reasonable that she'd come to us first. Then again, her actually coming up to a group with the intention of joining them is something she apparently very rarely did before. She leaves briefly to drag her desk over, and Shizune and Misha wheel back to me as soon as her back is turned. I guess we get to play again, Hee-chan. You hardly ever play with us anymore. I wonder why. You 2 always seem to have some ulterior motive. That hurt, Hee-chan. I'd almost think you were insulting me. But it's Hee-chan, so I know that you're joking. Such a great sense of humor about it. It'd be awful if someone were to take advantage of your good nature, like making you help them with their work. Oof, that's a sick burn right there. Shizune seems excited for a second, a little surprised that I'm willing to challenge her, but when she sees Hanako coming back, she backs off with a smile. I guess the mind games are over early today. Hanako gently sets down her desk in front of Misha's. Her eyes are locked downwards, and I'm left wondering why until I look around the class. Most are busy setting up their own groups, but a few are casting curious glances at her. At this range, it's hard to tell whether that is where their interest in her ends, or if they are talking about her as well. It's strange. No one bats an eyelid when Hanako runs out of class to avoid group work, but now that she's making an effort, they're staring at her as if she's done something wrong. We all move to sort ourselves out, spreading our textbooks and worksheets around the larger surface created by the 4 joined desks. It isn't long before the class as a whole gets down to work. Hi, Hanako! It's nice to finally work with you! Yeah. Are you the reason Hee-chan has been avoiding us lately? Shi-chan says it's a little rude, but if Hee-chan wanted to spend time with a cute girl, it's understandable. I don't think it's like that. Hanako starts to fidget, unused to this kind of attention. I think that an ordinary person would drop the conversation by now, but Misha is like the antithesis of Hanako. Part of that includes being blind to ordinary social cues, while Hanako is overly sensitive to them. Because of that, Misha barrels ahead with questions, too quickly for me to get a chance to interject and guide the discussion somewhere more comfortable. Really? So he wasn't hanging out with you yesterday? No. I can feel my cover being blown already. Lily didn't want Hanako to know that we were out buying presents for her, let alone planning out her birthday party. It wouldn't be good for her to find out. Oh my goodness, Misha, don't ruin this for me. Yeah, I was doing something else. You know how it is. Very good. Really? I wonder what was so important for Hichan to blow us off like that. If it wasn't to spend time with Hanako, then what could it be? It's really interesting. Now this is starting to feel like an interrogation. I'm surprised at how Misha is able to exert such a feeling of pressure without actually intending to. Were you with Lily? Out of nowhere, Hanako manages to stumble on the answer. She may be dreadfully quiet and shy, but she's very intuitive. What makes you say that? Yesterday, Lily said something similar. Suspicious! Hichan, I demand that you explain yourself. Hey, shouldn't we be doing the assignment? Ah, not anymore. You're under the stern glare of Misha. Look at that face of hers. But it's so mysterious. Even Hanako wants to know. I turn to look at Hanako. It's true. From the expression on her face, it's obvious that she wants to know as well. And I think we're past the point where I could weasel out of having to provide an explanation. I apologize to Lily in my mind. Sorry. She really did want to keep it a secret, but now it doesn't seem possible anymore. I feel a rush of conflicting emotions, so jumbled that I can't really readily identify them, but they crash around in my head as I try to calm down and speak. Alright, I'll tell you. I went into town with Lily, but it wasn't what you think. It was strictly no romance, okay? There was no romance. Lily and I were for Hanako's birthday, the cat is out of the bag, but it looks like Hanako is taking it a little better than I thought she would. A brief silence passes around our little group as Shizune and Misha look at each other sheepishly. I can tell that they didn't expect their game to turn out like this. Misha looks up to Hanako in order to apologize, then pauses. Hanako is staring at the middle of her desk, and barely moving. A maudlin? I don't know that word. A maudlin expression on her face. I guess I was wrong about her taking it well. Hanako? I'm sorry. There's a few seconds pause, but Hanako lifts and shakes her head. It's okay. Her expression looks odd, like she's very tired. That doesn't seem natural, but it's nothing alarming. Nobody really wants to continue with the current conversation, so we open our textbooks and begin our group work. This is pretty dull. While the equations we're supposed to work out as a group will take a while, most of it is going to be boringly mechanical. It doesn't help that while that didn't go as bad as it could have, it has left an awkward atmosphere around us. Still, we manage. Shizune's face betrays that she has about the same expectations of our work as I do, and the two of us begin to write our group's results. Misha, on the other hand, is scrunching up her lips and very visibly trying to make heads or tails of what we're doing. Hanako is looking on quietly, absorbing what we write and what I say. She usually has the same expression when the teacher speaks. It's a shame her attendance is so unreliable. With the way she takes in information, I think she'd do quite well in class, if she actually followed the lessons regularly. Wonder if this might be why Shizune seems so hard on her. Hey, Hanako, do you understand this? Misha looks to Hanako, but I suspect her hope is more to find a comrade in ignorance rather than genuine help. Not really, I guess. I'm surprised by how tense she is in answering, but she settles back down. She breathes out, and the way her upper body and head lower reminds me of a deflating balloon. You okay? I could go over this a bit if you want. Hanako shakes her head slightly, but then again, I don't think she needs the extra explanation despite what she said. Misha quickly interjects, entirely oblivious, and I end up slowly going through how we ended up at one of our results, step by step. Times like this remind me that this kind of work may not be mechanical for everyone, but rather feels that way to me due to my grasp of the subject. It's a satisfying feeling. As Misha brings her balled fist onto an open hand in realization, got it. I discover another nice feeling. My explanation got through to her, and she manages to work out the next equation by herself with a minimum of guidance. Throughout all of this, Hanako is unusually unresponsive. She's normally very quiet, but one can still see her eyes roving periodically over the landscape of the classroom in front of her, or anxiously moving her hand in some way, or shifting her shoulders periodically. Right now, these small movements that I've gotten used to seeing are all missing. Someone not moving at all is definitely weird. Even Misha can tell there's something wrong. Hanako? Are you sure you're okay? Yes. Are you sure? I'm fine. A little more strongly this time, but she turns away as she says it. It only makes me doubt her answer, yet at the same time, I can tell she doesn't want to talk about it further. Having already had one very awkward conversation today that I'm still not fully over, I don't want to pursue the matter too much either. We settle back into our routine, debating over our answers whenever a doubt comes up, but as time goes on, I notice that Hanako isn't talking at all. It's frustrating. She had made so much progress. It makes me a little angry at Shizune and Misha for undoing the surprise Lily had wanted to keep secret so much. I know I'm at fault too. Maybe I could have kept it under wraps somehow. Shizune has noticed Hanako's silence as well, and is also getting antsy. I can see it on her face. It's strange that even though she's deaf, Shizune has perceived Hanako's unusual quietness sooner than Misha. Hanako, you're being too quiet. You have to contribute too. Someday we might work on a bigger project, like one that's so big it's worth celebrating afterwards, like with ice cream or cake. If you act like this, we won't take you along. I can tell that they're trying to tease her to bring her out of her shell, but I don't think that kind of approach will work on Hanako. It will just make her feel worse. Guys, don't tease her like that. Hee-chan, it's all in good fun. Shi-chan says she teases everyone anyway. They do back off though, with Misha moving away from the issue by asking me a question again. On seeing how difficult the problem she is working on is, I don't know whether it was a skillful dodge, or mere coincidence. It takes way more of our time than necessary because Shizune keeps disagreeing with me while I'm trying to explain it to Misha, and Misha is quick to believe her over me. So quick in fact that she forgets to translate what Shizune is saying. Hey, the clock is kinda ticking down, we should speed up a little. Hee-chan, you sound a little like Shi-chan there. Just because I looked at my watch? Geez, is that really all it takes? Time management and suddenly I'm the student council president? Oof. I look at Hanako's desk to see how she's doing, and freeze. Our papers are covered in equations, but Hanako's only halfway there. It seems like she hasn't written anything in the past 20 minutes. When I realize that, I want to kick myself for how dumb I've been. I should have known that someone as fragile as Hanako wasn't just going to brush off what happened so easily, but I've been too eager to move on from an awkward situation to notice. She has been slowly shutting down for the last half hour, and I had no clue. Her pen is still in her hand, but she doesn't slowly spin it around like she usually does. There isn't a single idle movement from Hanako. Only the fact that she tries to inch away once she feels Shizune, Misha, and me looking at her tells me that she is even still conscious. We look away, and at least in my case, it's partly out of shame that it's gotten to this point. Though on the outside she is shut down almost completely, I know that it's a different story on the inside. What kind of things could she be thinking about as she tries harder and harder to shrink into herself, as if by willing it she could somehow disappear? Everyone is looking at her now, stealing quick glances in between putting the finishing touches on their work. Misha attempts to ask her what's wrong, but that only makes the problem worse. If she weren't frozen to her seat, she would probably run out of the room right now. Misha's questions are loud enough to be heard throughout the entire classroom, and for a second I'm ready to snap at her, because I can only imagine how much worse it's making Hanako feel. Of course, if I were to do that, it would only make the situation worse. I believed that Hanako had gotten stronger, and she has, but it wasn't enough, and I was too eager to believe it. Now she's terrified, alone in the middle of the classroom, and there's nothing I can do without drawing more attention to her. It's infuriating. Misha's worried, and even Shizune is biting her lip. None of us know how to deal with this situation, so I decide to call Muto. His judgment would probably be better than ours. I look up and manage to catch his eye, silently motioning for him to come over. I want to make as little fuss as possible about this, since if there's anything that would make this worse, it's more attention being focused on her. I know that Hanako can see everyone staring at our group, specifically at her, because they know that if there's a problem, it has to be her. Everyone knows her, and it's the first thing anyone's mind would leap to. Her reputation for being a truant has marked her as an unusual person. even an unusual Yamaku. Who knows how many times they have stared at her before? Maybe it's because she's seen the class staring at her so much that she fears their gazes like she does, cowering from them. The time it takes Muto to walk over must be like an eternity to Hanako, and she looks as if she is about to fall over. Muto quietly begins to ask us what's wrong, before catching himself as he sees Hanako. Did we upset her? Don't worry. Muto bends down after calming Misha and looks intently at Hanako's face. Hi, Ikazawa. Can I help you at all? His voice is hushed and gentle. Everyone's acting so differently around Hanako now that the whole class has noticed something's wrong with her. Hanako doesn't respond, so Muto gently rests a hand on her shoulder. She starts shaking at his touch, but won't even look up. Hanako continues to stare into the equations on her desk, vision so unfocused that I doubt she even sees them. She's worse than before. I remember that not even an hour ago, she was able to talk to him almost normally. Muto grimaces a bit as he stands again, and now that his expression's changed, I can see he wasn't exactly unaffected by what happened either. He takes a breath to settle himself before speaking in a very quiet voice. I'm a little impressed at how quickly he takes control of the situation. Is that it? Nothing's wrong then? Muto seems to say that to no one in particular. However, his words sound convincing enough that most of the people who were looking over at Hanako now turn away, getting back to their work. He gives a quick glance to his left and right. Several people at the desks around us are still staring curiously, but other than that, we seem to have escaped attracting too much attention. Muto notices me doing the same thing as him, and smiles a little, in his usual stilted way. I think, for Ikazawa's sake, that it would be good to quickly take her somewhere away from others. Nakai, Hakamichi, could you please take Ikazawa out of the classroom? I'll keep everyone settled, so please don't worry about anything but her, okay? He looks at Misha to tell her to interpret his words for Shizune, but she's already finishing her translation by the time he does so. It's remarkable how little thought she needs to sign, as she still looks quite dazed otherwise. Nodding, Shizune and I stand and move to either side of Hanako. Muto steps back to allow us some room, and talks to the table behind us as some people there have begun to mutter between themselves about what's going on. We look at each other before lowering ourselves in unison, taking one arm around each of our shoulders and lifting. The two of us begin to walk, at a slow pace to make sure we don't inadvertently hurt her. As much as we try to make this look normal, I'm quite sure there would be many more gazes on us if not for Muto's distraction. Eventually, thankfully, we reach the door and go through. Nobody's outside, so we walk down the hallway. Doesn't seem like it's making her more at ease than she was in the classroom. Finally, I ask if she wants to just sit down. For a while, we simply stay in place and wait for her to say something. Shizune tentatively rubs Hanako's shoulders a little, but there's no response. Eventually, she shakes her head a little when Shizune tries again. Both of us are looking at her, so we pick up on it immediately. Shizune's hand again comes to rest on Hanako's shoulder as she awakens, her face lifting to two very worried and anxious people looking at her. She looks at us silently for a while. I'm initially worried she might freak out or do something extreme, but those fears prove unwarranted as her expression slowly changes from an almost lifeless blank state to a more normal, withdrawn shyness. She wordlessly lowers her head, her eyes evasively moving to the side. She looks embarrassed, almost ashamed. I want to say something, anything to help. I can't though. I don't really know what just happened, or even what caused it. I feel helpless and ashamed of myself for not being of any use. Shizune sighs before looking at me. Even without words, I think I can tell what she's asking. I'll take Hanako to the nurse. Is that okay by you? I try to communicate my intentions through hand gestures, but I don't feel like I managed to get through to her very well. Shizune makes a dreary face in response to my gesticulations, confirming my impression. She stabs her finger in the air decisively, first at me, then at Hanako, and then towards the stairs. She waits for me to nod before pointing at herself, then pointing at the door to the classroom. I get the feeling Shizune is much better at this than I am. I nod at her, since her plan is after all the same as mine. Shizune gets ready to make her exit, but she only leaves after looking at Hanako for quite some time. Are you okay with me taking you to the nurse's office? Hanako doesn't say anything or nod, but she stands up in place by herself, and when I begin to walk, she obediently follows. I've read about people being catatonic before, but I think this time I'm seeing it for myself. She looks extremely tired. After everything that's happened, it's not a surprise. Oh, I knew what I was getting into with the Hanako route, and I did it anyways. I'm gonna try. Oh, man. Like, there are no jokes I can make during that scene. I'm like, it would just be terrible if I did, but... Oh, that one gets to me quite a bit. And it's all downhill from here, so that's exciting. I'm gonna try and split this one up and give myself a little bit of time to recover. I'm supposed to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time on Katawa Shoujo, goodbye.